Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of
Kato.
My name is Hans
I'm Edward.
and we're your hosts for now and forevermore.
Well, unless you die in your sleep or something.
Oh, sleep.
Yeah.
Yes. I see where you were going with that one. So for our long-term listeners, welcome back. It's lovely to have you with us. If you're new, welcome to one of the best variety podcasts currently available on the internet, where we talk about everything related to gaming, entertainment, technology, and lifestyle, all wrapped in a wonderful...
Sexy loot crate.
Perfect. I love it.
There we go. See, I tried to do the thing and I did the thing.
Yeah. You're trying to do it differently. Good, Evan.
Yeah.
Good, Evan. Our long-term listeners will know just why that is as funny as it is. And if you're new, we hope that you stay for the long haul.
Yeah. You should
So-
talk about sex.
Yes, especially given how it is episode 30.
Yeah.
Finally, the big 30. We actually have some interesting facts to do with episode 30. And just before we get to that, though, Edward, how are you doing?
I'm good. A bit tired. Can't complain.
Preach. I think if anyone is not tired out there, please share your secrets with us, because Edward and I forever are tired and don't have very good sleeping schedules. And with that in mind, we're actually going to be talking about sleep in a short while from now. So if you're interested in that, definitely stay tuned, or just have a look at the timestamps below so that you can skip ahead. Not that you should.
Yeah. This package is good all the way through, okay?
It's all encompassing, okay?
Yeah.
You know, all of it. You know, we give you nice little aperitifs in the beginning, then there's a wonderful main, and then of course just desserts.
Yeah. It's worth it.
Well, at least in our opinion. All right, anyway.
Yeah.
So because it's our 30th episode, and wow, it's 30 weeks, Ed.
Yeah, we're getting old.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yep.
All right, anyway, 30th episode, so we decided let's have a look at some facts. Not necessarily about us, just in general, 30 facts. I mean, facts about 30.
Facts about the 30s.
I mean, if it was 30 facts, we'd be speaking for a while.
Yeah, we'd be busy for a long time.
So we did some reading and some searching. We found some of our favorites, and we're just gonna list them and discuss them just really quickly.
Cool.
So Edward, go first.
Yeah. So fact number 1, dear readers, viewers, and listeners. In Back to the Future, Marty McFly actually traveled 30 years back.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's the original time travel movie for us geeks. And yeah.
Back to the Future. It's still a classic, even today.
It is. It is.
You know, they actually hold up really well as films. Kind
Only
of like
the first one, though.
Well, I mean, I'd say all of them really, or more so. What I'd like to get to is how we still don't have half the stuff they predicted we would have.
Yes,
and it's already like I think 5 years past what it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Anyway, the next one is how. Okay, so we've already mentioned we're going to speak about sleeping a little bit later on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we learned that if you dream of the number 30, it normally means that someone or something in your life is lacking truth, and that they're lying and what they're saying may not be what it appears to be.
Someone might be a slurry little snake.
Oh, you can't see it right now, Edward, but I'm high-fiving you.
There you go.
Well, I mean, I have high-fived you with my mug of coffee because...
Oh, well, I just slapped your mug of coffee out of your hand then.
The next one, Ed?
The 30 is the total number of major and minor keys in Western tonal music.
That's cool.
That's pretty dope.
That's pretty interesting. So for our long-term listeners, you know, we often do a lot of audio segments whenever possible. We don't always find cool audio stuff to play for you, but when we do, you know it's kick-ass. So
Yeah.
this is very interesting to note that there are only 30, like the 30 total number of major minor keys, but specifically with Western tonal music. And I find that really interesting because now I'm curious about Eastern tonal music. You know, like how does it differ, you know?
Yeah, probably wildly.
Maybe. I guess we'll possibly shelve that for a future episode.
Yeah, why not?
Now, my favorite one of the 30s, or should I say the dirty 30s, is how the number 30 in Roman numerals is XXX.
Oh.
Now, when I pitched turning this episode into an NSFW only episode, much like we did for episode 21, Meneer Swart wasn't keen on the idea, fellow listeners. So if you're wondering why this entire episode is not dedicated to the delicious arts of hashtag NSFW, he is the one to blame.
I suppose so. Gosh.
Moving on, Ed.
Did you know, and I find this so weird, cats have 30 teeth.
No, that's crazy. That's weird.
Yeah, that's weird. Hey? Who counted? Like,
well, veterinarian.
I suppose so. It's just weird. It's just a weird thing.
I'm just wondering, what does that imply? Because it's only 2 less than us as humans. Did you know that? We have 32.
I did not know that. Maybe I did. Maybe I was told some time ago because biology and all, but that's actually, wow.
Hey, isn't that interesting? And now
it's probably the frontal teeth.
Look, from what I understand as well, I think the number 32 for humans excludes the wisdom teeth. So I guess that would actually put it to 36.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
you
cool.
know,
we have a lot of teeth.
Yeah, many teeth.
Something else to do with the number 30 is that in the Bible, Judas betrayed Jesus for 30 silver coins. Cheap ass bitch.
How cheap can you get?
Exactly. And Ed, if you'd please, the final one of the most interesting facts about 30 that we found.
Okay, so this is cool. So the number 30 it actually has a lot to do with measuring time. So the number of minutes in an hour is divisible by 30. Okay, obviously.
Okay.
But the number of seconds in a minute is divisible by 30. And the average amount of days in a calendar month is usually 30. And that's actually super cool. It's all 30s. Well,
there we go, y'all. 30 is a very important number. Oh, also, okay, I know this is not a fact that we actually were going to speak about, but apparently, because like we just mentioned the Bible a few minutes ago, apparently reaching the age of 30 is considered the peak of maturity. And I don't mean in terms of wisdom. I just mean in terms of you are now officially in the prime. Which is very interesting because science has proved it as well. Or rather, they said that it's about 35, hey? That's your prime.
I've heard men reach the peak between 32 and 35, so...
Okay, so it's just downhill from here. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much...
Thank you, Edward.
Listen, I'm already falling apart and I'm not even there yet, so...
Oh, speaking of falling apart, we are back to load shedding in South Africa. If you're one of our international listeners, load shedding is essentially where we have rolling blackouts in terms of power, which is actually one of the reasons why you might not know it right now, but we're recording this really early. So if we look tired, there's a reason for it.
Yeah,
because we had to schedule actually recording this podcast in terms of our load shedding schedules because we wouldn't be able to do it if there's no power.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, this is where we're at. Now with
it is what it
in
is.
Mind, that's saying, but yes, you are technically. It is technically the truth. We're going to move into some reviews and previews now, and just before we do, just quick. For those of you who have been listening for a while, and I actually don't recall if we did mention it in a previous podcast, but we broke a story in July regarding Microsoft's Xbox Series X and Pringles in South Africa, whereby some Pringles cans were released into the wild, and they detailed a competition about whereby you can win one of 45 Xbox Series X consoles every day from the 1st of September to the 15th of October. So therefore 45 consoles in total. And when we broke the news, we actually couldn't get confirmation from the local PR people from either Kellogg South Africa or Xbox. And this was because obviously they didn't want to say anything just yet. Well, I'm happy to say that this morning on our social media, we've seen a lot of media receive some press packets with regards to this exact Pringles competition.
Yep.
And booyah, we were right all along. So if you're interested in possibly winning an Xbox Series X and you're a fan of Pringles, by all means, check out the link. We have all the information listed, and good luck.
Yeah. 45 Xboxes is a lot. So
it's a lot. It's a lot.
You have
it's a pretty good chance. Yeah. Right. Moving on. Onto our reviews and previews. This week, I've watched a couple of movies and finished some seasons of certain shows. So the first one was, this one was not on my radar at all. It's called Freaks, You Are One of Us. And it was a movie that we just stumbled upon on Netflix. It's actually a German film. And it's a pretty cool take on the superhero genre, which I found nice and interesting. Now, look, it is filled with a variety of cliches. Like, it's pretty obvious that, who the villain is and their motives, that kind of thing. But what I liked most about it is they did the origin story justice. So, not to, give any spoilers or anything, but I mean, it's pretty obvious within the first couple of minutes what is going on. But essentially, the government of, I guess in Germany or the world, are suppressing superpowers in people. So what's actually happening is that people are getting abilities, but nobody knows where or why. And the government is finding out about it, and then they're basically, drugging, I guess would be the term. Or rather, they are convincing these people that they're mentally unstable and that they need to take pills in order to remain stable. Meanwhile, these tablets are actually suppressing their abilities.
That's cool, actually.
It's interesting, hey? It's a very, very... Anyway, so the movie then goes on. Obviously, there's a focal point, which is the main protagonist. I've already forgotten her name. And how she learns about this, and then she stops taking her tablets, and what transpires as a result. And, who she meets and how there's actually like an underground movement and so on and so forth. Look, as I mentioned before, it has a lot of callbacks to popular comics like X-Men. Where you can clearly see that that's meant to be like a Professor Xavier and that's meant to be like a Magneto. In terms of the way that they behave and their values and what they believe society should be like and so on and so forth. Exactly. So it's a pretty cool movie. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like super A grade, but like I'd give it a good in the 70s, like 75. It's a decent watch. If you enjoy superhero films, this is definitely one to keep on your radar. So yeah,
that's cool.
Freaks, You Are One of Us.
Freaks, You Are One of Us.
As I mentioned, it is German, so you can watch it dubbed, but obviously I found it's better when you watch it in the native tongue and just have subtitles on. And something that I like, especially with the way that it ends, I could actually see a series developed out of this, and it would be one that I would actually watch. Just because of the premise and what happens and stuff. Obviously, I'm not going to say, but it's quite cool in that perspective.
Yeah, it sounds like it'll be a good series.
Well, you know what, Ed? You should watch it, and then in a couple of episodes from now, you can tell us your opinion.
Cool.
Oh, speaking of, Edward is still getting to those two movies we spoke about episodes ago.
Yeah,
and when he does.
Look, what happened is I wanted to watch Velocipastor because we mentioned that I'm going to watch it that night. And there's a scene right at the beginning which makes it look like it's a review movie. But because we've reviewed upcoming shows before. And when they aren't finished, they have a big thing on the screen say VFX of this goes here. And that's in Velocipastor. Now, apparently that's a joke that's meant to be there.
which we only found out after the fact. So
yes. So I'll get to that movie as soon.
So Edward didn't want to watch it just in case it wasn't the complete version, but then we found out that it actually is. So
yeah.
But anyway, now one of the other movies is another sci-fi movie, and it's called Archive. And it stars the same guy who was in the Divergent series. He was the love interest. I've actually completely blanked on his name. Anyway, you guys know who I'm talking about.
Beautiful eyes.
And lips. Anyway, it's a little bit slow. So let me try and give you the premise. So Archive is basically about the scientist who is in this secluded place in Japan, and he is developing a new set of AI and robots. And if you watch the trailer, you'll know who he's basing it on. So I'll just tell you because it's not much of a secret. But he's technically basing it on his deceased wife, because obviously he misses her so much and he wants to try and bring her back as like an android. That's sort of like his life's mission. Mm-hmm. However, there are a lot of like twists along the way, with like a really massive one at the end. Now, I'm not even going to hint at what it is because it will really spoil it. It'll be really obvious to pick it out. But I think for the observant among you, if you were to watch this movie, you'd probably be able to figure it out. With that aside, there's some really cool and interesting things that the film explores, kind of like consciousness. If you're downloaded into something, are you still alive? Is that really you? Or is it just a replica of you? So there's a lot of pretty cool, topics that the movie covers. And again, it's very much, I'd say, in the 70s in terms of how good the movie is. I did feel it was a little bit slow, and the intrigue that they were trying to build for the ultimate climax and conclusion could have been a bit better. I felt it was a little bit messy in terms of how they were doing it, because obviously there's like overarching governments or whatever that are trying to get his technology, but it wasn't as well done as I thought it could have been. Yeah. That aside, the premise is great, and the conclusion is somewhat satisfying. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So if you are interested in a really cool, I guess, sci-fi movie that deals with AI and robots and technology, it's one to watch, and it's called Archive, just in case I wasn't clear earlier on.
Yeah. It sounds intriguing, so yeah.
I think you'll actually enjoy it, Edwin. Like I'm saying, it's by no means a bad movie. It's just a little bit slow, but it's good. Like, it's shot wonderfully, and you feel for these AI robots that he's creating, and stuff like that. And then at the end, when the big twist happens, you're like, But anyway,
okay, well, that's good.
Then another movie we watched, which was actually last night, was The Secret Garden. Now, this film is actually based on a early 1900s novel, of the same name. I've read the novel. And this is now the 2020 version of the film. And I'm outright just going to say it should be called The Boring Garden. Because
okay. I wanted to ask if it's better than the original movie.
Look, it's only about an hour and 40 minutes. Okay. And I don't want to trash it too much, because it's not a bad movie. It's just really slow. So, in the book, they explain a lot more, and you feel more for the characters. Like, the little girl in the beginning, you understand in the book that she's actually sickly, and that, she goes through a difficult time. She loses her parents due to cholera, and they didn't care for her. So, it does a great way of establishing who she is and why she is the way that she is.
Yeah.
Whereas the movie leaves a lot of that to your imagination. So it only gives you like tidbits, and you are then meant to piece together that the parents didn't really care for her, and that she was spoiled because her parents were wealthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it doesn't spoon feed you, but at the same time, I feel they don't actually do enough to explain it. Okay. So and I must admit, it's technically a kids film, I suppose, because it's got children actors, and they all do a fantastic job. So it's not one of those movies where the children don't know how to act. In this sense, they actually all do a great job. I just feel that the pacing was just super slow. Look, the movie's gorgeous, so maybe that works in its advantage. But, there's only so much so that something beautiful can do if there's nothing really to pull it through.
Well, I actually really, really, really like the original movie. Or I think I just looked it up and I can't really find much, but I don't think it was the original. It's just the 1993 version of it.
Okay.
And that was a very good movie. It was executively produced by Francis Ford Coppola. And
oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and it was also a beautiful movie. I distinctly remember all the colors being vivid and beautiful.
I don't believe I've seen that one, so I might maybe consider going back to it.
Maybe.
That's interesting.
Yeah, in looking this one up now, I saw the screenshots for the new one, and it looks awful. So
look.
So I don't know.
Visually, there's a lot of CGI, that they use to portray certain things and that. But I feel they're missing the point. So the whole point of the book, in my opinion, was how, there's this little girl and all of these terrible things happen to her, and she is shaped by what happened to her and her parents.
Yes.
And then throughout the novel, she changes to become a better person. And in so doing, she actually helps her cousin. Now, I'm not going to mention anything about the cousin because that's technically like a spoiler.
Yeah.
Because you don't even know he exists, to be honest. Anyway, so, and then, the climax of the film is when the father finally notices all these changes. Now, they vastly changed it for the film, for this new film. Like, the whole thing is different. Like, I mean, there was a point where the father didn't even know the garden existed. I was like, huh? I mean,
how?
That doesn't, yeah, exactly. That doesn't make sense because in the book, it's a core part of what happened to his wife. Anyway, I'm not going to, I could totally pull it apart if I wanted to. But basically what I'm going to say is it's beautiful. The child actors can act, but it's a slog. Honestly, I'd say, we were watching about, 45 minutes to an hour through, and basically everybody had lost interest. And then eventually it takes a bit of a turn where it starts becoming a bit more interesting. But by that point, everybody was like, yeah, we're done,
We're over it.
Yeah. All right, Ed, I know that your review of Frostpunk on the Edge released this week?
Yes, it did. It's the final DLC for the game, and I'm actually sad because of that, because I really, really like the game. The previous DLC, The Last Autumn, it was nice, and it did a lot of new stuff, but ultimately I never went back to the game. I just finished the DLC, and that was it. With On the Edge, I want to go back. I actively want to play the game again. It's great. It's just more Frostpunk. It doesn't do anything radically different like The Last Autumn did.
Yes.
But my biggest issue is that you only get like half the building space that you got with the vanilla game and The Last Autumn. Yes. And that's...
But, I mean, isn't that more strategic, though? In other words, they've done that on purpose versus, it's more of a creative decision, hey?
It definitely helps due to the fact that you don't need to mine your own resources in the beginning, because you kind of rely on the main city, New London, to send you stuff. And by them sending you stuff, they demand steel and things you get from the warehouse you're sent to originally. And if you don't meet those requirements, they stop sending you stuff and they start treating you badly because there's this whole relationship thing going on. So yeah, I guess it is strategic in that regard, but I just don't like it. To me, part of the beauty of the previous two campaigns was the fact that you have to figure everything out yourself. It's all about you. And now in this new one...
It's not about you anymore.
This new one is all about bureaucracy and red tape.
Yes.
So,
welcome to the life of 2020.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So yeah, it's nice. It's good. I scored an 80, I believe, so...
Okay, well, look, I have yet to actually play through the DLC, but I did enjoy the base game, I must be honest. So the fact that you're enjoying this means that I'm evidently going to enjoy it just as much as well, which is great.
You like city builders and
I do,
stuff.
And simulations, so this is right up my alley. In terms of previews, we have, as we mentioned last week, a couple of things in the background, which some we can talk about, some we can't just yet.
Yeah.
Now, if you are watching the video version of this podcast, you will have noticed things behind me. Those are going to come out in the future. We will eventually speak about those things. Just some product reviews. In addition to that, technically, we don't have. We actually have a lot of review content, and I've actually, during the course of this episode, have received, I think, 2 additional review codes, which we'll speak about a bit later, Edward. With that said, one of the big things that's happening, and that's now this weekend from the 4th of September, is the new season of The Boys on Amazon Prime.
Finally.
However, I will not be watching.
Mm-hmm.
Take that, Amazon.
Booyah, bitches.
Look, I'm not in favor of this week-by-week release schedule, which is what Amazon is now doing for The Boys. So for season 1, they just were like, boom, here we go. Enjoy these 8 to 10 episodes at your leisure. Now, because of the popularity of the show, they're releasing the first 3 episodes and then the rest of the episodes week by week. I would like to think that this is possibly because of COVID and that maybe production was delayed, as in, for the special effects and things like that. So they needed extra time.
Maybe.
That's maybe one of the reasons. However, I am more inclined to believe that this is just a means of prolonging the show because it is one of Amazon's biggest shows at the moment. It's kind of like their Game of Thrones.
Notice that they're doing exactly what Apple did with C and what was that other one? The one you liked so much.
You're spot on. The morning show,
yeah.
Whereby they release the first 3 and then week by week afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah. Look,
so maybe they're just following suit, the big leagues.
I'm of the opinion that this is very much a means of just prolonging the advertising campaign. The longer the show goes on, the more viewers they can pull in. And for good reason, because the show is absolutely excellent. It's exquisite.
Yeah.
But I'm not for that. So I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait the following, how many weeks? Let's say 6 weeks extra after this weekend.
Yeah,
and
I think it's 10 episodes.
I will binge them all in one weekend because I don't want to wait week by week.
Pretty much.
I prefer to have it all in my face as soon as possible.
Exactly. Like I'm waiting for Lovecraft Country now because when I reviewed it, I only got 6 of the 10 episodes.
Yes, that's right.
And it's only just aired episode 3. So now I have to wait. And
but now, look,
I'm dying.
That's a bit different though. So, HBO is known for releasing week by week. So that's not a departure from the way they do things.
It still sucks.
But what Amazon's doing is a departure from what they've done in the past.
Yes, that's true.
You see, and that's what irritates me a little bit about this whole season 2 thing. And we all know that it's just because Jeff Bezos wants more money.
Yeah.
Not that he even, as if he doesn't have enough.
Yeah, it doesn't really need more money.
Okay, well, anyway, that's basically our reviews and previews for this episode. And now we're going to move into some very interesting content. Starting with what could be a hero from The Boys. Manholers.
It sounds about like a hero from The Boys.
Or maybe even the start of the NSFW section. But y'all didn't hear the tune, so it's not we're not there just
you'll hear
yet.
it when
but,
it's there. Okay.
Manholers. Have you ever heard of... It's just... Okay, so I heard of this for the first time because Edward wrote the most interesting article about manhole covers in Japan. Hey, Ed?
Yeah, so Japan... it's no secret that Japan is a very colorful culture.
Japan is amazeballs, and I would go back in a heartbeat.
So basically, dotted throughout the country, there are manholes which are decorated and painted.
I'm sorry. Every time you say it, I don't think of a drain cover.
Well, that is what it is. For those who don't know, in South Africa we call them manholes. In Asia they call them manholes.
In America they call them manholes.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like I've heard of drain cover before. I think that's a British thing. I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know. Anyway.
In Japan, it's colorful. It's cute. It's beautiful. But now
no, hold it. Well, they're not colorful and cute. So what
true.
Japan normally does for these manhole covers is that every prefecture obviously has their own history and their own, not beliefs, but like, their own cultures, right? There's slightly differences in culture. So what Japan has done, what they're really well known for, is having really beautifully decorated manhole covers. Like some will have cherry blossoms on it. Or, when I was in Japan last year and we went to Kobe, they'll actually have a cow on like one of them to celebrate the fact that Kobe is known for its beef.
I see, that's
cool.
So
it's things like that. But now what Edward is talking about is truly next level, because it mixes tech with this old cultural means of decorating manholes.
Exactly. So in the Saitama prefecture, I believe, in Tokorozawa. Yeah.
You know who comes to mind, right? Saitama.
No.
One Punch Man.
Oh, jeez. That completely flew over my head.
Anyway, sorry.
Jeez. So they developed a total of 27 new manholes that are solar powered. And it's solar powered because they light up at night and they are made entirely out of LEDs.
I would not expect anything less from Japan.
Yeah.
LED-enabled solar-powered manholes?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yes.
And the beauty of these illuminated manhole covers is that at least the first batch of 27, they all feature prominent anime characters
awesome.
from anime made popular in Japan. Now the premise behind it is this new business venture that Tokorozawa will enable companies to basically advertise, to give back to the city, to the prefecture, by advertising on these manholes. And
what this is making me think of? This is like,
what?
We've all heard of that like cyberpunk future. Like if you watch movies like Doom and like the upcoming game, how you're walking around and like things get advertised to you. So could you imagine?
Like everywhere.
Like walking over a manhole and boom, Edward, they're in your face. It's telling you Pornhub is free this month. Get your free subscription. Touch this manhole with your with your NFC phone is where I was going, but
yeah, it's weird. I can just imagine Shepard's voice. This is my favorite manhole in the Citadel.
Yes, yeah, from Mass Effect.
Yeah,
it's actually so cool because this is very much like a precursor of where we're going.
Yeah,
with interconnected manholes.
Like we think Times Square and Tokyo, those are all visions of the future. No, manholes are the visions of the future. This is the future.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, Edward, he actually picked, I think, your 5 favorite, hey? Your 5 favorite.
Yeah, I picked my 5 favorites.
Manholes.
Like, among those are the new, or not the new, but Mobile Gundam, which I really like. It's a super diverse anime. Slayers, which is a cute anime. Not cute, but it's got cute animation. And then one that I actually forgot about until very, very recently, which is Ozaki-chan Wants to Play. It's actually so that's the direct translation, rather. It's Ozaki-chan Wants to Hang Out, and it's just a rom-com anime that really doesn't go anywhere by the end. But
because that's right. You enjoy those like lifelike ones, right?
Yes, it's just a slice of life anime, and there are very few of those, so which is why I liked it so much. Among the others is the 5-Star Stories, which is a very old anime, which is very, very good. If you like mecha and you like fantastical high fancy stuff, this is the anime for you. Yes. And obviously Sword Art Online is just the most mainstream of the bunch.
Awesome.
But obviously they'll have a bunch of anime.
We'll
covers.
obviously link to Edward's article, so you can actually see these manholes and read about them, and you can let us know what your favorites are.
Yeah.
Now, as we mentioned last week, we're doing an Assassin's Creed lessons about life that can be learned from the series, which Edward wrote. It's absolutely fantastic. Last week we had part 1, which dealt with the first, I think it was the first the first 2 games in the franchise, and then the 2 offshoots from Assassin's Creed 2, correct? Yeah. And then this week, we're going to go from Assassin's Creed 3 through to Rogue. So, Edward, I don't mean to rush you, but load shedding is looming. So if you could just give us a quick overview of this.
So Assassin's Creed 3 is all about identity. It's about finding yourself. And in playing this game, I am maybe one of 3 people in the world that loves Assassin's Creed 3, by the way. And it really tells a beautiful tale of how finding yourself and finding who you really are matters a whole lot more than seeking revenge and seeking the truths that you originally set out to seek in the beginning. It's actually a good tale.
Yes.
And then its offshoot, Assassin's Creed Liberation, is one I didn't appreciate in the beginning. I actually hated the game for a long while.
I'm actually just laughing at your notes.
So essentially, after I played it again recently, it actually teaches you that maybe sometimes people who have the worst intentions aren't really, or rather, people with the worst intentions come off as trustful, as people that you love, and in the end, they just betray you. People suck, essentially.
That's a bit of a sad one.
Yeah, it's very sad, but that's how it is. It's unfortunately that's something we all go through in life.
Yeah, but look, sometimes that could just be, I'd like to be optimistic and think that, sometimes people do those things without realizing their malintent, because their belief pushes them to do or say something. Meanwhile, what they're actually doing is really bad, but they don't see it, and it just comes out as such. But anyway, I digress.
Well, contrary to that, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag teaches you that good things come to those who wait. With a little bit of patience, you might actually benefit in the end.
You can't see my face right now, but I just gave this stare into the camera because
I tend to be slow.
No, because of things that are currently happening with us.
That
now.
as well. That as well.
Good things come to those who wait.
I didn't even realize that.
Really?
And yeah, it does. So basically, in the beginning, we find that Edward Kenway, he set out into this world of piracy in order to make a name for himself, to get somewhere in life. Yeah. That didn't pan out until he started just going off on an adventure, an Assassin's Brotherhood full adventure, which slowly and surely just made his own life just all the better for it, and not for the reasons he originally wanted, which is furthering himself, but rather those around him. And basically at the end you learn that, but good things come in mysterious packages. It comes in all shapes and sizes. And
awesome.
Yeah. And then that the Assassin's Creed 4 offshoot, Rogue, basically teaches you that revenge and anger doesn't bring you anywhere. It clouds your judgment.
Look, this is something we actually discussed in depth when we spoke about The Last of Us. And I have a feeling that this is actually very similar. Just basically how revenge and anger never really pay off unless you want to be alone and lose everybody in your life, kind of thing. Correct?
That's essentially what it comes down to. Also, something you noted in while editing the post, which is basically a lesson I learned without making it bold, is that this is the only Assassin's Creed without a plot twist, and that's so enlightening actually. Because it's a surprisingly good Assassin's Creed game. It's simple.
Maybe it didn't need it because if you think about like The Last of Us and the discussion we had regarding that, there's no need for a plot twist because technically the twist is how you now understand how revenge and anger is not the way forward. So that is kind of like, it's more a revelation than a twist.
That could be it. Yeah, I think you're spot on.
That's possibly it.
It's just cool revelation that I noticed after you published the post, and that's Amazing, actually. Yeah.
Now, our dear listeners, we actually have a lot of content. I just have to be upfront, and we're actually going to change a lot of the stuff on the fly because we don't have much time left in terms of load shedding. And it is something we are actually quite concerned about because should we lose power, we will, we lose the episode, essentially. So I'm really sad because I don't want to change any of this, but like there's no way to do it, Ed. So,
yeah.
I'm just gonna run into one of the big things. In terms of like looking at things that have changed over time. We've spoken extensively about deepfakes.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, Microsoft have actually released new tech to spot deepfakes.
Which in turn makes it easier for deepfakes to exist.
This is the thing. So, so it's basically developed by Microsoft Research in like collaboration, or they say coordination with Microsoft's responsible AI team and the Microsoft AI Ethics and Effects in Engineering and Research, which is a really cool acronym called ETHER, which I think is really awesome, by the way.
That's cool, yeah.
And essentially what they've done is they've taken deepfake tech and they've not necessarily reverse engineered it, but they've developed it to the point where they're trying to get their tech to spot deepfakes. But as Edward said, and this is the most ironic thing about it, this potentially could create even better deepfakes, because if you can spot the errors and fix them, then this kind of becomes like survivorship bias, which is what we spoke about, I think it was 2 episodes ago, whereby this tech could look at the flaws and then they could actually enhance their deepfake tech to make even better deepfakes.
Yeah, and then in the end, it'll just be one whole mess of no one actually knowing.
Look, it's actually just incredible right now. Like, for example, NVIDIA is doing a lot of stuff for AI. Now, we actually wanted to speak about the new 3000 cards this week, but we're going to push it to another week. But just, a quick overview is that their cards are some of the forefront tech in terms of AI generation and computing. Yep. So, it's just really incredible to see how NVIDIA, which is a graphics card company, is actually pushing AI. And now Microsoft and I'm sure a variety of other companies have all got these departments dedicated to AI. Now I guess it's the race of who's going to be first. And we all know that Elon Musk, with his Neuralink setup, whereby he's plugging straight into pigs, which is quite
weird.
Disconcerting.
Yeah.
To be perfect. I mean, listen, y'all, we all know where like the foot and mouth disease and like the original SARS and stuff came from, right? So please, this is the last thing we need now is some like zombie pigs that have something else that we can catch. Anyway,
exactly.
Moving on to something else that we thought was pretty cool. This is actually a bit of an awesome video to do with Star Trek, and it has to do with Commander Riker. Now, this was quite cool because when I mentioned it to Edward earlier this week, he was like totally taken aback. So to cut a really long story short, essentially in the Star Trek series, Commander Riker often sits weirdly. He'll get up and he'll sit down in a very strange way. Well, it turns out that the way he sits is because the actor actually has or had a severe back problem during filming of the show.
Yeah.
And so what is now called the Riker Maneuver, because William Riker is obviously the actor, is because he suffered from a back injury. So if you see him in these older episodes sitting strangely, or getting on and off surfaces strangely, or leaning against things, this is the reason why.
It's actually so interesting. Like, I knew it was a thing. I knew the way he sat and did things was a thing. I never knew it was related to something that happened in real life.
It's one of those unusual, you've always thought about it, but you never really, took the time to like search for it, to find an answer. Exactly. And what's very interesting about this is Will Wheaton actually confirmed it. So it was an article written by the Mary Sue, and Wheaton actually comes on record to say, yes, he worked with Riker for like 5 odd years, and this is 100% the truth. Because, set life can be quite difficult. There's a lot of standing around and waiting and that. And as someone who's had back issues in the past, not necessarily severe to this extent, but like, you kind of want to sit, or, leaning helps,
Exactly.
Now, speaking of sitting and resting, this is something that Edward and I really both want to speak about. Yeah. And we did allude to it at the beginning of this episode. And that is sleep.
Yes.
Which both of us don't get much of.
Specifically falling asleep.
Oh, gosh. So I didn't even try and look this up, which I find strange because I think maybe my issue is not so much actually falling asleep. It's actually more to do with just sleeping,
Bad habits before sleep.
Being restless. Yes. The bad habits before sleep, which cause me to be restless during sleep.
Yes.
Anyway, with that on the mind, I came across these very interesting topics called the military method for sleeping, which apparently people in the US military, most notably fighter pilots, would use to nod off within 10 seconds?
That's crazy.
Which is amazing, right? Because I'm pretty sure you don't fall asleep within 10 seconds.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you just don't sleep. Hey, Edward.
Yeah, hardly. Gosh.
So, essentially, look, the articles detail a lot of different methods. So, like, one of them is called the 4-7-8 breathing method, whereby you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 7 seconds, and you breathe out for 8 seconds. I tried this. All it did was raise my heart rate because it felt like I wasn't breathing. So that's not a great one.
That doesn't help. Yeah.
Look, there's a whole lot. There's a few more. Obviously, we'll link to the articles below, but the one we specifically want to speak about is the military method. So, as I mentioned before, this is the one that fighter pilots and other military members in the US specifically use to fall asleep, to get some shut-eye, because, sometimes sleeping on the job can be difficult, especially if there are loud noises around or gunfire or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And it essentially goes as follows. So, I've actually tried it for, I'd say, the last 2 to 3 nights, and I think, weirdly enough, I think I've been doing this anyway. So, as I mentioned before, I don't struggle to fall asleep. For me, it's more a problem of staying asleep. Now, in terms of this, though, what I came to realize eventually is that I was actually doing most of this without even realizing it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't need to be told to do it. Anyway.
Yeah.
So the military method begins with, number one, you need to relax your entire face. Now, that includes the muscles in your mouth. Now, I actually sleep with a mouth guard. Not because I grind my teeth, but because I've had braces before, and to keep them nice and straight, you need to have a mouth guard. Yeah. And what I'd normally do before going to bed is not necessarily tense, but I'd kind of really suck my mouth in to keep my mouth closed so that I don't have fish breath in the morning. Mm-hmm. Not that it helps, but that's just one of my weird little going to sleep things. Anyway,
I actually believe that to help as well. So
you need to relax your face. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is basically just relaxing your body, most notably your upper body. So you try and release your shoulders, make them relax, release the tension, allow your hands to drop to your sides. Now, that kind of sounds obvious, but some people are always very tense and they might not actually allow themselves just to relax into the bed. The third step is basically exhale by relaxing your chest. So deep breaths, not short breaths, but deep breaths. Number 4 is relaxing your legs, thighs, and calves. And I just want to mention something else, because I read this other fact somewhere else, is in terms of relaxing your body, if you actually, when you wake up in the morning and you feel that need to stretch, where you tense everything and then you release. Mm-hmm. If you struggle to fall asleep, do that before you fall asleep.
Yes.
Actually tense and then just let everything relax. Yeah. It actually makes a huge difference. Anyway, the 5th step is basically just clearing your mind for a minimum of 10 seconds. Now, you might be wondering, how the hell do you do that? Do you count to 10? No, because that means you're doing something. So essentially, you've just got to think of something peaceful, a tree or, something calming. Now, I tried doing this over the last couple of nights, and every time I did that, it kind of devolved into a dream. So it was rather... yes, it kind of worked. It was just a bit interesting, to see this. Now, if that doesn't work, if those last 10 seconds don't work, there are actually 2 tricks that they recommend. The one is saying don't think, and the other one is saying stay awake. Now, the reason for this is because if you tell yourself not to do something, you'll end up doing the opposite.
Because you're a rebel, baby.
like if you keep saying stay awake, you'll actually fall asleep.
Gosh, okay.
Now the don't think one I think is slightly different because by saying don't think you'll only picture one thing, so you sort of force yourself to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, they say that doing this helps you fall asleep. It's called the military method. We'll link to all the other methods below. We would love for you all to try them out and let us know what works best for you.
Yeah. Well,
I know. I was just going to say. I just want to mention this quickly.
Yeah.
I actually have sounds on when I go to bed.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something you do.
No, I don't. I can't sleep with any sounds.
So I have a HomePod, and I often will put on the ocean. I just, not because I think it actually works, but more so because
it's relaxing.
It's this white noise, and it's there, and it kind of, in many senses, actually blots out other extraneous noises. So then my mind ends up focusing on that, and I've actually noticed that sometimes if I wake up in the middle of the night, I don't even hear the ocean anymore until I'm actually awake. Then I can actually hear the waves.
Okay, that's actually cool.
And it's weird. It's weird. Now, with that in mind, Ed, you've got something cool?
Yeah. I found a cool video this week, which kind of relates in the fact that it's also basically just white noise. Now, this video is called "It's Rain in Games," and essentially,
it's rain in games.
That's literally how it goes in the video. And then games like superimposed, like games. And yeah, it's this person, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, who made a video with samples of rain in every single game you could find.
Cool.
There are multiple videos. Cool. Among the sounds are Heavy Rain, Marvel Spider-Man, Life is Strange, and The Division 2, which
that's awesome.
is actually quite cool, and it sounds so cool to just listen to the different Foley effects and the rain effects these game makers had to create for the games. So I
that's
thought
awesome. Wow.
Yeah, maybe you should try that tonight.
Well, I mean, play this YouTube video. Maybe I can do that. I can play it to my HomePod.
Yeah, it's like
or
like
I could just
20 minutes long,
I could just ask my Apple Assistant to play Rain for me, and she will.
And she'll probably listen to your entire dream and send it to Riker.
And yeah, look, I dig that. That's very cool. So as always, like whenever we speak about things, we'll obviously link in the show notes. So by all means, click on it. Let us know if you actually end up using this, and also which one of the games is your favorite Rain. I quite dig that. How how different they are.
Yeah,
that's very cool. Now, still on the topic of sleeping badly.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that maybe it's what you do before bed that makes you not sleep. So I found this cool little guide that basically lists off all the things you really shouldn't do that many people still do before bed. And this includes exercising, using their electronics.
I must just say something quickly. Like even just now, when I was talking about that military method, a lot of that actually sounds so obvious.
Yeah, it really does.
Like you're talking about exercise now, right? I've admittedly I've done that before. Where
Me too.
I remember once went to the gym. It was like 9:30, 10 p.m.
Yep.
And then I didn't sleep until like 3.
See, I used to exercise at night all the time. I used to be mega buff, and all those exercises came from nightly exercises. And yeah, I think
I just want to acknowledge your humble brag there, but we'll carry
on. It's an insult because I'm not buff anymore. Anyway, we digress. Also, another super obvious thing that actually we never think about is don't sleep in over the weekends or ever.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
It turns out consistency is key. Obviously, the body becomes used to habits. The body is a habitual thing.
Yes.
And if you suddenly decide, oh, it's weekend, I have all this time to myself, I'm going to just sleep in, baby. At the end of the day, you're hurting yourself because suddenly you jostle your body into this new state of of sleep and rest, which actually, at the end of the day, makes you more unrestful.
Yeah.
And so that also don't drink alcohol.
One of the okay, well, I mean that's a pretty obvious one because actually alcohol dehydrates you, which is actually really bad for you just in general.
Exactly.
But there was a big one, electronics, which is basically actually that's my issue. I often will be on my phone or my iPad before bed, and I know for a fact 100% that influences how well I can sleep. Because what ends up happening is I end up stimulating my brain, and then I can't sleep because I'm no longer relaxed.
Yeah, so basically, I, for a little while now, I'd say for a few months now, I basically have my times, like on Fridays, it's 12-ish. I don't touch my phone at all after that. And then, I don't know if I've noticed better sleeping patterns at all, but I've started doing that, and look, I'm just happier for it, I think.
I actually can. I've actually done this a few times, whereby I'll get into the bed and I'll relax for 15 odd minutes, and I will purposefully not pick up my phone or iPad. Now, bear in mind, this is at the end of my nighttime regime, so wash my face, brush my teeth, whatever I need to do, and then get into the bed and just like sit there for a little bit. And I've noticed that if I purposefully do not look at my devices, I actually have better sleep. Yeah. But if I'm on my device, then I'm up until 1:30, and then I am exhausted the next morning. Exhausted. Yeah. It's definitely like, don't do it, y'all. Yeah.
The simple task of putting your phone down will make it much better for you. So.
And now look, I see you've written a lot of things that you can do here, right? Things like mood lighting and keeping the room cool and gymming in the morning. Now, one thing I see here you've added is milk.
Yes. So
is that for real? That's not just a old wives' tale?
According to this one post I found, and they link to many studies, so I have half reason to believe what they say. This is on the internet after all. They say that warm milk stimulates the body into getting into a restful state.
I wonder if that's not something that is present from birth. Maybe. As a child, when you suckle your mom, and you're drinking the warm milk, your body sort of naturally relaxes as a baby, and then you fall asleep. I wonder if that's not some sort of an evolutionary part of the brain that responds to that. So if you have warm milk, your body is like, yes, bliss, sleep.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. It's not a
I think so. Yeah, it's very, very possible.
But then obviously this post goes on to list all kinds of weird stuff like tart cherry juice, which I've never heard of before in my life. Yes,
but there is one. There is one that we have to speak about.
Which is
hashtag NSFW.
Yeah, like the sex also helps.
Welcome everybody to our favorite section of Kero. So, as you can tell, sleep has been quite a large proponent of this episode, which is quite funny because I guess maybe when you turn 30, given how this is the 30th episode,
I was about to say
you value your sleep a little bit more. Kind of like you're happy when people cancel plans and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
Not that you end up sleeping anyway. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
Edward, naturally, in all of his infinite wisdom, has discovered some things that I guess some of us already knew, but we're going to talk about it anyway because it's nice to know the particular details. Yeah. And this one is all about, of all the things you do before going to bed, is just rubbing one out as a man.
Yeah.
Or just having an O with your vibrator if you're a lady, or whatever your kink is, whatever you need to do to get off, do it before bed.
Yeah. Essentially what it comes down to is endorphins and hormones all work together to make you just sleepy, to make you more restful. I found this amazing post called Your Brain on Masturbation. And essentially it goes it in detail explains what happens to your body after you've been aroused and after you've orgasmed. And it all comes down to the fact that it essentially makes you tired. It makes you immune. It promotes immunization, rather.
Hold on a second. Didn't
Yeah.
we, a couple of episodes ago,
Mhm.
talk about the fallacy of men falling asleep after sex? And it was actually ladies?
We did. We did.
And how it was for this particular reason? Yes, it
Yes,
was.
Actually,
Oh,
now that you
fascinating.
mention it, this post also mentions that women say masturbation is better than sex. In fact, in a 2014 study, 35% of women who regularly had orgasms admitted that they also masturbated during the act, whereas
Good.
only 9% of women said they could orgasm without masturbating during
Wow.
the act of sex. So
That's
that just cements the fact that it's all a fallacy. Women fall asleep much faster than men.
It's great. Honestly speaking, if there's one thing you do every day, this should be it. Okay?
Yeah.
Life is too short not to feel good.
They
Let's
really
be real.
or rather, I was about to say they really say that you should masturbate once a day, but it's actually, I don't have the stats here, but I have read in the past that it's actually super good for your body in many, many, many ways. As I said
Yes,
just
of
now,
course.
it
should be.
promotes
there's-
immunization.
Wow. There's so many benefits. We've actually mentioned this a couple of times in a couple of episodes. So
Yeah.
I mean, we've spoken about like health and, immunity and so on and so forth, but now sleep as well. So like, there are just so many positives. Like
Yeah.
if you're not doing this, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's really that simple.
Exactly.
I
So-
love this. This is great, Ed.
Yeah, and then
Now, this is interesting because
Hmm.
I see your next post basically says, "Why do you feel tired after intercourse?" Correct?
yes,
Now, isn't this a bit of a double-edged sword? Because we've spoken how you shouldn't exercise before bed,
mm-hmm.
but now,
So-
but I mean that's technically exercise.
The body is a weird thing, man. So what it comes down to is sex is obviously physically draining. Depending on how.
Oh well, I mean, depending on what you do.
Yes, if you're a vanilla, you're probably not going to get tired.
Well,
no,
if
no
you-
judge.
if
I don't
you-
judge.
Vanilla 2 pumps and you're good.
Yeah. Hashtag so is life.
Oh no, and I'm not speaking about Starbucks.
Yeah. Basically.
Oh, sorry. Not to hijack, guys. It's pumpkin spice season. I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay,
Yeah.
please carry on, Edward.
Yeah. Now you're making me sad that I'm not going to go anywhere in the next season to get pumpkin spice. Anyway, I digress. So obviously, sex is physically draining, and it makes you tired, but it's also a form of exercise.
Yes.
But the reason why you tend to get more tired after sex or during sex even
Yes.
is because of the hormones it releases and because of a number of factors such as emotional factors. Now, in addition to oxytocin, which we all know
Yes.
is released during orgasm, men and women also release vasopressin, prolactin, serotonin, nitric oxide, and endorphins, obviously, again.
Wow.
And
Jeez.
many of these are only released during orgasm, which means, especially in the case of many heterosexual couples,
Yes.
the female specifically, many of these women don't ever get these orgasms easily anyway. And
Yes.
they don't fall asleep as fast as their partners would, which is where the fallacy again comes from, that men fall asleep
Yes.
faster than women.
Yes.
And also, sex is emotional. It's this post says that basically, when we trust our partners, we tend to, or rather, our bodies enter a
relax.
relaxing state,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's all. That all works together in the brain to just make you more
So
able to sleep.
That's actually incredible, because even though you're exerting yourself with these emotional ties and release of chemicals into the body, it actually just helps you to really fall asleep better. That's amazing. I love that.
It's
love
all
that.
hormones and weird brain stuff.
I dig that. Wow.
That's cool,
I dig that very much. That is awesome. That was a great way to come to the end of episode 30.
A nice informative way.
Yes. Y'all know what to do now, hey? Every day, there's 30 days in a month. 30 times.
Go squeeze one out every night, and you'll sleep better.
Edward, I'm actually I wish we didn't have to rush through this episode. I'm actually very sad because there was ladies and gentlemen, I must personally just apologize from my side because we have got so many things that we still wanted to talk about, like the fact that there are flying cars and personal travel and even more to do with Starbucks and more technology. There's just so much that we had queued up. Unfortunately, we have to be cognizant of the time because of load shedding. Now, if load shedding was accurate, as in if they said 12:30 and then that's it, 12:30, sure. We wouldn't really worry too much about it. But we've experienced where sometimes it happens up to 20 minutes before the time. We're trying to take that into consideration at the moment, and we are literally with minutes to spare. On the verge of a possible load shedding scenario right now. And I am sad about that because, and I know Edward feels the same way because we love Gettle. We love it a lot. And I hate the fact that we had to rush it today. I really do. Because there was so much more that I would have preferred to have just sat and talked to you with.
Just a little bit relaxed.
Yeah. Exactly. Now we're stressed. So guess who's not sleeping today?
Yeah, right.
So, look, we promise to try and not have it rush like this for future episodes because we dislike it as much as I'm sure you dislike hearing us rush through topics. But we are doing the best that we can do given the circumstances because trying to find a suitable time that matches both of us is quite difficult. And then in addition to that, sometimes it's just random events, random no power. Now, before we end off, I do want to take a quick moment just to say a special shout out and thank you to our 3 most popular listeners. Oh, and when I say popular, I mean the 3 most active listeners.
Our VIPs.
That is, yes. And all of them are from South Africa, interestingly. Oh, sorry, no, they're not. Okay. I just want to say thank you specifically to Ian and Vicard from South Africa and Tegan from Australia. It is wonderful to hear from the 3 of you basically every week.
Yeah.
Whether it's DMs or publicly on forums, we love your feedback. Now, bear in mind, this is from everybody because we do get other feedback from a lot of people, but specifically, we felt the need to mention you 3 because you've been listening basically since the beginning. And we cannot stress enough how good that makes us feel.
Yeah.
And how good it is that we have regulars now. So we don't just have, over 700 listeners, but we have dedicated listeners. And it's really lovely. It's just wonderful. It gives us incentive to keep on going, even though we don't necessarily need it because we love it. But it's wonderful to have that interaction. And, it is something Edward and I have discussed that we may eventually do a live stream of Gettle in the future where we'll have audience participation, whereby, we'll talk about topics and have you guys literally comment while we're active.
Yeah, maybe even
it's in the pipeline. It's in the pipeline. Yes, even participate. Wouldn't that be lovely?
Yeah.
So
the thing is, it's empowering to basically wake up every Monday to a slew of tweets from Vichard and a huge paragraph of notes
Ian.
on YouTube from Ian. And then we get the odd comment here and there. It's really, really sweet. And we thank you.
It's just great. We love the feedback, and it's lovely. And we just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. Whether you're new, whether you're long term, thank you for the support. It's allowing the podcast to grow, and we sincerely appreciate it.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, and ending off episode 30, which means we're only 5 away from our prime. Hey, Edward.
Then it's all downhill.
At least by human standards. Just thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you all again for episode 31.
Yeah.
Which is on a very strange date, but we're still undecided about if we're going to mention it or not.
Yeah. We'll see.
But anyway, we hope you all have a fabulous week further. If you're in South Africa dealing with load shedding, Godspeed to you. And for everybody else, just stay safe and stay home and wear your masks.
Yeah.
And with that, thank you so much. Peace out, everyone.
Bye.